Hello and welcome to the history of Babylon 5. Today's episode, part 2 of the history of Delenn. And here we go. Shaul Malin comes to Babylon 5 in early 2258 as part of a tour that will eventually take her to Earth. After a poetry reading, Shaul comes with Delenn to her quarters to catch up. It is very late when she leaves. Just minutes after she does, she is viciously attacked and branded by unknown assailants, part of a wave of anti-alien assaults committed aboard the station. Delenn expresses her outrage and disgust over the attack to Sinclair personally. He assures her that he will catch the assailants promptly. While the investigation continues, Delenn introduces Sinclair to an ambassador named Mila Shar. She is surprised when Sinclair gives both of them the cold shoulders. She later learns that Sinclair's behavior was part of a ruse to get close to Malcolm Biggs, a human member of the Home Guard responsible for coordinating the attacks. Delenn and Shaul, now recovered from her injuries, watch with Jakar as Big and the other perpetrators are deported from the station. A few weeks later, Sinclair is kidnapped by a pair of human agents intent on finding out if he is hiding anything about the Battle of the Line. Delenn becomes aware of his absence and tries to help find him. Sinclair manages to escape his captors on his own, but their treatments have left him delirious. Armed with a PPG, he takes a few shots at station personnel. Delenn ignores the warnings to stay away and confronts Sinclair directly. He raves about knowing her. Then he snaps his delusion without harming her. Later that day, Sinclair visits Delenn in her quarters to thank her for her help. Unknown to Sinclair, another member of the Grey Council has come aboard. Fearful their secret is on the verge of being exposed. Worried he might have remembered something that they had suppressed, Delenn asks a few indirect questions, but Sinclair says he was merely delirious. After he leaves, the other council members warn her that if he should remember, he would have to be killed to keep the secret. Delenn reluctantly states her agreement. When the mass murderer known as Deathwalker is found on the station, Delenn is back on Minbari. Lanier contacts her with a message from Sinclair, appealing for the Minbari Federation to vote for her to be held for trial on Babylon 5. Delenn instructs Lanier to vote in her place, but the vote is against a trial, on orders from the Grey Council. She explains to Lanier that the Council does not wish to reveal the Deathwalker was being harbored for years by a Minbari clan, the Windswords, which was unknown to the Grey Council for years, but was discovered during the Earth-Minbari War. The Grey Council could not endure the embarrassment of revealing the fact now. A short time later, Delenn is approached by Mola and Tharg, a couple who wish Delenn to intercede on their behalf regarding their son. The boy is dying and Dr. Franklin wishes to operate, despite the fact the family's religious beliefs prohibit the operation. Delenn is torn over the incident, as she believes deeply that their beliefs should be respected. Yet she also knows that Dr. Franklin is doing what he believes is right. Thus she feels her own beliefs prevent her from interfering. Later, a mysterious man named Morden comes to Babylon 5 and schedules a meeting with Delenn. Curious about him, Delenn learns that he has also scheduled a meeting with Jakar, making her wonder if he is approaching all the ambassadors. When he comes to meet her, he simply asks, "What do you want?" As a member of the Grey Council, she was given a kind of implant by the Triluminary. The implant alerts her that Morden is in league with the Shadows. Concealing what she really knows, Delenn demands that Morden immediately leave. She realizes that time is almost at hand. And we'll be right back after this. Sometime later, a man named Gajik contacts Delenn, letting her know that he will be arriving on the station, and hoping that she will help him in a quest. Delenn is honored and moved over the request, as the man is a true seeker, someone deeply revered among the Minbari. She asks Sinclair to provide a full honor guard for his arrival. Sinclair barely conceals his amusement when Gajik arrives and announces he is on a quest for the Holy Grail. Delenn confronts Sinclair about this privately, and he tells her that Gajik is probably the only true seeker in the human race. Delenn, amused, tells him he does not know himself very well. Unfortunately, Delenn can offer no information for Gajik. He is killed shortly thereafter. But a petty criminal who Gajik reforms through his kindness takes up the quest after his passing. Delenn gives him a gift before he leaves with Gajik's body, wishing him well in his journeys. About midway through the year, Shai Brammer, a great hero from the war, dies unexpectedly. While on a tour outside the Federation, his clan, the Star Riders, insists on parading his remains through several sectors on a long march back to Minbari. Delenn is disgusted by this display, as it goes against the stated wishes of Brammer himself. Before converting to the warrior caste and fighting in the war, Brammer had been an important priest in the religious caste, someone whom Delenn respected and admired very much. She meets Alt Naru, Brammer's former second-in-command, when he arrives with Brammer's body at Babylon 5. She confides her unease in this situation with Sinclair, who is trying to fight off emotions stirred up from the war, while Brammer's body is lying in state privately. Delenn has several of her closest agents stun the Minbari guards and steal the body. Pretending she knows nothing of what has happened, she secretly has the body cremated, intending to have the ashes scattered over Minbari, per Brammer's original wishes. Her plan calls for her to attempt to explain the disappearance as a miracle, but Naru pushes a relentless investigation that even involves him briefly assaulting Sinclair. Delenn's plan goes awry when she is approached by Susan Ivanova about a young woman named Alyssa Belden, a human telepath whose talent has just surfaced. Not wanting Alyssa to join the Psi Corps, Ivanova asks Delenn about Minbari telepaths. During their conversation, Alyssa reads Delenn's mind for a moment. Despite training on how to avoid such probes, Delenn cannot act quickly enough. Alyssa realizes her part in the body's disappearance and tells Sinclair. After acknowledging her part to Sinclair privately, she decides to let Naru know. She issues a direct order for him to remain silent about the incident and apologize to Sinclair for her actions. Naru, a loyal soldier, follows the command. Afterwards, Delenn arranges for Alyssa to be taken in by the Minbari, hoping that she can serve a bridge to better foster relations between her people and the humans. Sometime later, while Delenn successfully negotiates with Londo Mollari a treaty between their empires regarding Sector 119, strange events begin occurring on Epsilon 3. After their negotiations, Delenn is surprised when she arrives at her quarters and finds her old teacher, Drawl. She welcomes him warmly and they catch up on old times well into the night. The following morning, over breakfast, Delenn asks Drawl why he has been willing to talk about everything except why he has come to the station. Drawl admits that he had become disillusioned and morose for his own people and is going to the Sea of Stars, a Minbari tradition fairly common among the elderly. Delenn is distressed, realizing that it means she will never see him again. Drawl, confident in his decision, tells her they should make the most of the time that they have. She agrees and tries to keep a light heart, showing him much of the station. She even introduces him to Londo, who is feeling particularly cheerful. However, Drawl never makes his planned trip. An excursion to the planet by Sinclair and Ivanova returns with an alien named Varn. Drawl leads Delenn to the med lab where Varn speaks to them briefly. Drawl explains to Sinclair that he had heard Varn's voice calling him the night before, though he does not clearly state that Varn mentioned needing a replacement, a new guardian for the great machine in the planet. After Sinclair leaves, Drawl and Delenn are met by Londo, who offers to pilot them down to the planet with Varn. Delenn is surprised when he admits he knows just as well as she does that Varn expects someone to replace him, someone who will be remaining on the planet. The trio springs Varn from MedLab and makes it to the planet, pursued by Michael Garibaldi. Drawl takes his place in the heart of the machine, stabilizing the planet and issuing an edict that all are forbidden from trying to claim it. Varn explains that Drawl's mind will touch the stars themselves. Delenn says her goodbyes and returns to the station. Once back, Garibaldi asks why Delenn chose to keep the command staff out of the loop. Delenn explains that she had to do it. Otherwise, Sinclair would have been the one in the great machine, and she knows his destiny lies elsewhere. And we could be right back after this. Later in the year, Delenn is summoned to a meeting of the Council. She meets their cruiser in deep space and joins the Nine. The others let her know that at long last they have decided to elect a real, new leader for them. They have chosen her, as she is the most widely traveled and experienced, not to mention the protege of Dukat. Delenn says she does not think it'll be possible, referring to the prophecies regarding the transformation that is supposed to occur. She knows that if she accepts the role as leader, she will never undergo such a transformation, nor indeed even leave the council ship. She calls the council together and states her desire to reject the leadership offer. The others question her actions, and she explains that her part to play in the prophecies is on Babylon 5 with the humans. She defends their importance and reiterates that the second Shadow War is coming. The council votes and by a narrow margin approves her decision. Afterwards, Delenn is secretly given one of the triluminaries by another member of the council to be used in her inevitable transformation. She is grateful, although mindful that her actions will almost certainly carry the result of being expelled from the council sooner or later. On December 30th, 2258, Delenn finally finishes a device that she had been building in her quarters since receiving it and the triluminary, one that will allow her to undergo the prophesied transformation. She knows that the time must be right, when the shadows have returned. She asks Lanier to go to Kosh and ask if indeed they have returned to their homeworld, Zahadu. Kosh answers in the affirmative, wishing to rid herself of any remaining threads of doubt about the Vorlons and the upcoming conflict. Delenn goes to see Kosh herself, insisting that he reveal himself to her. Kosh steps out of his encounter suit, and as soon as she sees him, all her doubts are erased. Knowing Sinclair has an important part to play of his own, Delenn tracks him down the following day and shows him the triluminary, asking if he remembers it. He responds that he does, and that he remembers some of what happened to him on the line. Delenn offers to explain the whole truth to him. Sinclair explains that Garibaldi is missing and that he cannot do anything else until he is found. Delenn understands, saying that she can wait a little while but not too long. Returning to her quarters, Delenn inserts the triluminary into the device. It begins constructing a chrysalis. Delenn waits in vain for Sinclair to arrive, but he is delayed. Delenn must enter the chrysalis before she can tell him anything. Lanier stands vigil over her, not knowing how she will emerge. Hey, thank you for watching the history of Babylon 5. Special thanks to the Babylon Project and all contributors for all information you heard today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you can. If you have, thank you, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.